Hi, this is Darcy, broker of asset management real estate, and I'm here to answer a question I get today from a lot of my past clients, some of my friends who are looking to sell their homes, or people that are interviewing our company to help them with their listing about what do we need to do to get our house ready for sale. So the first thing I do when I consult with my clients on getting their property ready for sale is we walk through the house together and we look and see what needs to be done to make the place feel like a model home, if it's possible, which I know we're all living in our homes and that's very hard to do, but we need to make it so it's depersonalized to the homeowner and a blank canvas in the sense that a buyer can walk in, see their furniture there, see their kids there, see their lives there, and anything we can do in advance of marketing the property to get that ready is very important to the success of the sale. So when we're looking at the inside of a home, the first thing I always recommend is depersonalizing and decluttering the rooms. So for example, if you've got a wonderful wall full of family photos and memories and all these great experiences that you've had as a family in the property, it is amazing to live in that type of environment. I love having pictures of my kids everywhere in my house. But when people walk through and tour a home, they stop and they look and they try to decide who the people are, and it kind of takes away from the experience of looking at the house and looking at the flooring and the finishes in the kitchen. So we recommend that you take your personal pictures down. We also recommend that you declutter, meaning that any countertop, a minimum of 3 items on each surface. So if you've got a coffee table that has remotes and books and candles and other things, limit it to 3 items or less if you can, because it makes the house feel a little more clean and just less busy and less cluttered, and people can not look at what's there, but they can look at the space and envision their own things in that home. So natural lighting is very important inside a property. When people walk in, they want the space to be bright. They want to be able to see the entire property. They don't want shadowy corners. So we advise that if you've got really heavy drapery or heavy curtains, we either remove those or find a way to open the windows up so that there's a lot of natural light in the home. We also advise that you change out some of the yellow light bulbs that are really nice at night when you're just trying to relax, great to live in, but when you're trying to photograph or people are touring in a rainstorm, it doesn't make the house feel very bright. So we want to use the daylight bulbs, that natural bright white light, which is akin to what it looks like outside, that type of lighting in the home. And when we bring a photographer in, they actually bring in studio lighting to enhance that experience as well. So another thing that my company does is in the consultation process, if the home is empty or if the home maybe needs to be redesigned, let's say there's a lot of heavy living room furniture and you walk in and the room's just a little sectioned off and it doesn't feel as open, we will bring in a professional home stager to either redesign the interior of the property to make sure that the furniture flow is done well, or we'll have a home stager bring in furniture so that the house has the appearance of being lived in, and it gives people kind of an idea of where they could place their furniture if they have a hard time envisioning that when the house is vacant. Another thing to think about when you're preparing a home for sale is paint. So most homes we haven't repainted in the last couple of years, like my house, but we need to touch up prior to putting it on the market, because fresh paint and fresh baseboard paint especially makes a home feel much more well maintained and not lived in. And I don't know if your house is like mine, but my kids have ridden scooters in the house and throw balls and kick walls somehow. So all of our trim is scuffed up. So if I were putting my house on the market, I would make sure everything was touched up, and I'd go around with a bucket of paint and make sure all of the baseboards and the trim were bright and white. The doors are repainted, because that really does change the feel when you walk into the home. So another item that we could touch on that can be done prior to sale is landscaping. So a lot of homes, mine included, have flower beds that need to be weeded, or mulch that's kind of tired and aged from lots of time in the sun, grass that might be dead in one area, or rocks that are missing in another section. Landscaping, as much as it's not a requirement for people to enjoy a home, it is the first impression. When people pull up to a house, the first thing they see is the exterior space, including the yard, the driveway. So we always advise that you spruce up the landscaping at a minimum, weed and brighten up the beds, and pressure wash the driveway or any exterior spaces that are a little gray or maybe mildewy from all these heavy rains. Okay, so we've touched on everything that's cosmetic and decor related, but let's talk about deferred maintenance. So I'm sure you have all, if you're homeowners, been through the 4-point insurance and you need to make this repair to keep your insurance or get your insurance kind of scenario. And buyers, anybody who's going to purchase your home, is going to have to go through the same dog and pony with these insurance companies. So at a minimum, you want to look at the 4 points on a 4-point inspection if your house was built before 1995, because you're going to have to submit one. And those are roof, so you can't have any active roof leaks. There has to be a minimum of 3, now potentially 5 years of life remaining on a roof, so that's important. Air conditioning has to be functional, and you have to have heat. So if you have a property that has window wall units and there's no heat on those, that can actually get called out by an insurance company. Electrical, this is a harder one to do as a layman without being an electrician or being an inspector, but you can't have any double tap breakers. The electrical system can't have any cloth wiring. Aluminum wiring has to be repaired. So there are some components of the electrical aspect that needs to be reviewed by a professional. And then plumbing. There are certain types of plumbing that are not insurable. Some insurance companies will accept galvanized plumbing, others won't. So you have to review your plumbing system and see what the updates are. The age of the water heater can come into play. So those 4 points, roof, air conditioning, electrical, and plumbing, should all be reviewed in advance of the listing to make sure that you can, or your buyer can, obtain insurance. And as far as any other deferred maintenance, wood rot on the exterior, get a handyman to fix that in advance of showing the property. If there's an old roof leak that's been repaired and you've got a little stain on the ceiling still, make sure it gets painted. If there is something else that's a very visual repair issue and it's affordable to correct prior to listing it, I'd suggest you do it, because the less things that the buyer sees that they have to do when they go through the house, the higher the offer will be, the quicker you'll sell the home, and the better return will be for you in the long run. I hope that information helped on how to prepare your home for sale. There's a lot to consider when you're getting ready to put your property on the market, and it's always smart to consult with a professional. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to talk to you on the phone or set up a time to meet at the home to go through these points directly.